Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and let's go. The 2018 Summer Split starts right now, and while the teams get ready up on stage, we're gonna hit the countdown. We got some cool stuff to show you guys, so follow me. Now, of course, since we have no new teams this season, we decided to switch things up with the studio itself. And so I'm gonna be picking up Mark and Jat. We're gonna check out the new digs to unveil our brand new State Farm analyst desk. Here he is, my boy. You got a new ride.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I heard there's a lot more space.
They upped your salary?
Yeah, well, I spent all of it on the scooter.
Of course, naturally. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the State Farm Analyst Studio. We've upgraded from a desk. Here you see, of course, the interview area where Avali will be grilling unsuspecting pros, and Jat will, of course, be napping in his spare time. Is it comfy? It's good to know. And, of course, we've got new technical capabilities. Avali, of course, showing our new telestration to bring top-notch analysis.
Does this ruin the shot if I walk like this?
It absolutely ruins the shot, but thank you. And then, of course, our home base. We've got beautiful champion team tiles and this huge back wall. And
hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Kobe, this is our space.
Welcome to my brand new desk.
Seriously, you couldn't let us have the spotlight for like 5 seconds?
This is my space now.
The three of us spent like 2 months building this studio, and you got to come in and act like you own it.
Well, now that I'm here, might as well have some fun.
Now that you're here, we're just going to deal with it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, without further delay, welcome to the LCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we shepherd you through the new meta and reason through roster moves until the timer reaches 0. And we jump into Champion Select. I'm James Patterson here with Mark Zimmerman, Joshua Jatleesman, and that guy.
Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe. That would be his name. How's it going? You guys ready for some craziness?
I am so ready. The new meta and everything that's going on, plus the space, plus ramping up
You say
the
new
worlds.
meta. Define the meta, please.
It's kind of, still figuring it out. All right, everyone's there.
I wish you the best of luck with that. Now, with the new space also comes the vast possibilities of summer and our new Summer Split foldy sheet. Now, counting for a new meta, add in the new faces to the league and multiply that by the number of picks in week 1 of league so far, and we have 14 million possible outcomes. Only one, or NA wins Worlds.
What are the percentages on that?
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance, Kobe. I tell you that much.
Mr. Dash, I don't feel so good.
Kobe.
I don't want to go.
No, Kobe, it's okay. No, we got no.
What? What, Kobe?
Day 1, we lose a caster?
Kobe! Yes!
What do we do?
He's gone!
I didn't want the desk back that bad, and now the shot's all wonky.
What did Kobe do?
We're unbalanced.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to have to bring in some reserves for later today. Now, we're in the end game now. So let's take a look at what our schedule is for today, presented by Jersey Mike Subs. Now, the day starts with a finals rematch between 100 Thieves and Team Liquid. And then TSM and CLG hope to start their split on a high note by taking down their storied rival. Followed by Clutch Gaming versus C9, where Doublelift and Afromu will be joined by Kobe, of course, if he's still around, for the NALCS Lounge on Riot Games 2. Plus, 2 more games before we close out the day. And if you're looking for a sub above during our games, visit a Jersey Mike's near you and order online at jerseymikes.com. And be sure to check in later in the split for ways to earn in-game rewards like Hextech chess, skins, and RP when you order online. I'm going to be eating a lot of sandwiches this split.
Mike's way.
Definitely Mike's way. Nice addition there, Mark. Now, in the spring split, we had only 9 returning starters to kick off the franchise era. In summer, we have only 9 changes to the starting rosters in week 1, a stark contrast.
Yeah, and it was even fewer before Cloud9 decided to make changes at the last minute there. But we see with franchising, players signing longer contracts, teams having academy leagues, so the level of available talent outside of your own roster of 10 is a little bit lower. So you need to have a much larger impetus to make a change, which is why I think we have fewer changes coming into this split.
So among those changes, you already kind of noted it just a moment ago. The 2 biggest ones are from 2 of our playoff teams that seem to be the most surprising, C9 in particular.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that had a number of players on their all-pro position, and then out of nowhere, they dropped Jensen, Sneaky, and Smoothie, 3 of the best players in the league that we're used to seeing, and they've put in 3 players from their academy roster.
Yeah, it is so crazy. 377 consecutive LCS starts for Sneaky, which will end today with their announced starting roster of having Keith in the AD carry slot or the bot lane carry slot.
I mean, so how do you justify this? How do you explain as large a roster move as this?
Dash, it's so strange because these guys were second team or third team all LCS in the spring, which was a couple months ago. As you know, Sneaky has started all of those games. And the fact that after the news happened, they all kind of tweeted out like benched smiley face, benched XD face. Then Jensen went into a little bit more detail, saying that he said it wasn't due to toxicity or poor individual performance, and they wanted to shake things up. But it's a huge move with the reputation these guys have, and I still can't quite believe it with kind of the memeing that was happening on Twitter, if it really is a move to have potentially Golden Glue, Keith, and Zazel as the main C9 guys.
I mean, a year ago, you would never assume those kinds of names are going to replace these names here on Cloud9. Beyond that, let's jump over to TSM, who, again, continued struggles in the jungle, if you will, and that Mike Young now supposedly sharing time with Grig. Grig, of course, the starter.
Yeah, and this was another kind of late season announcement in terms of that they would be splitting time, but then we saw Mike Young in the Academy League for both games earlier this week, which makes you think, of course, Grig going to be starting here. And even then, like another kind of example of like these kind of trolly tweets indicating maybe something else behind the scenes. A while ago, spam tweeted something, better jungler wins, and then a couple weeks later, you're swapping your jungler up. It looked like there were some significant problems with Mike Young, who previously they had put all their support behind.
Of course, with the new players comes a new version of League of Legends, and while we would love to talk about every change that we've seen, we've only got about 12, 13 minutes to go before Game 1, so let's get some spark notes going into today's games.
First thing you have to point out, of course, is what's going on in the bot lane. It's no longer AD carries, it's bot lane carries. And there's still a lot of marksmen, especially things that you're seeing at MSI. Ezreal and Kai'Sa still up there, some Xayah, Ashe and stuff. Lucian getting those big changes with some of the itemization as well. But when those A tiers are gone, anything else seems like it's viable.
Yeah, this is for patch 8.11 as well. So basically 1 week of LCS, LCK, LPL, and EULCS play has given us this much diversity. Now, most of these picks that you see on that screen are 1 game, 2 games, because it feels like so many of these teams have reached their own conclusions, or maybe even just hypothesis that they want to try and test out that this is actually how you approach the bottom lane. But that is more than I have ever seen by far for that position. That's not bot and support. That's literally just the bot carry position with 27 unique picks in week 1.
And the position thing's important because a lot of those things can be played elsewhere as well. So when you're going through the draft phase and the game's coming up, do not assume anything. Pretty much, Vlad can be played in 3 positions. Aurelia can be played in 3 positions. So it's super, super flexible.
Of course, we even saw in other regions, though, along with this, the idea that, well, if champions from previously other lanes or roles are going to move into the bot carry position, should other players be piloting those champions as opposed to the traditional bot carries?
Yeah, there's an LPL team called Snake that actually subbed out their traditional marksman player, subbed in their substitute support player, and ran double melee bot both games in a series to a lot of success. So they're the only team that did that. I don't think that's going to be a very common strategy, but at least it's a possibility, and it's the direction some teams are going.
Yeah, maybe the substitution will be less frequent, but other players are still getting flexed around based off champion now. So we saw Faker play Darius in the bot lane. In Academy, they had their bot laner playing the Mordekaiser mid. So people are moving all over to accommodate the picks.
That, of course, brings us to the other strat that we've been seeing a lot of, this kind of gold funneling relationship between mid laners typically and the junglers as well.
And this is the other kind of crazy strat that's starting to emerge. Basically, you take a very strong scaling jungler, you give them the mid farm and the jungle farm to try and catapult them ahead, making a super Yi, super Kai'Sa, some of these champions that scale very well with gold.
Yeah, and I feel like it's actually a bit of an extension of what we saw at MSI with RNG and Uzi, where they were giving him so much farm in the mid game. It just happens at the start of the game. So they don't even joke about having, it's just a second support on the map.
Now I want to see Uzi start getting farm from 2 lanes in a jungle.
But Kai'Sa jungle Uzi sounds good to me, man.
But looking at the pool of players that we have in front of us from this league in particular, what are you excited about most here to see played today?
I think it has to be Wild Turtle. This is a guy who has played other positions professionally. He's always been known as being super aggro, flashing in on Kalista and things like that. And now the meta allows him to play Yasuo and Vladimir and these other champions that have a lot more agency than marksmen are used to having, as well as the fact that Lucian, Kai'Sa, and Ezreal are the marksmen that are viable right now. All of that screams Wild Turtle meta.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing with him on Yasuo. We were victorious. We won in under 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's already played it this year, so he's a step in front of the rest of the league right now.
Yeah, and I'm also really excited to see Huni, because he has always been one to push the envelope, even when there wasn't much envelope to push. And now it feels like things are wide open, even though most people haven't experimented that much with the top lane. We've seen Aatrox emerge as a new pick, but for the most part, it's tanks or bruisers. I wonder if Echo Fox is going to allow Huni to move elsewhere, to funnel farm, to play very strange champions, because if anyone is going to do it, it's going to be Huni and Echo Fox.
All right, well, focusing in on the first match, Probably sounds ready to enter the wild world of this split.
So I definitely hate being the first ones on a new patch in our region for sure. I feel a little bit more comfortable in the fact that I think no region knows what's going on right now. So that gives me like a little bit of like peace of mind where it's like my confusion right now, it's like met with every other team's confusion. So it's not as much panic as usual, even though this is a gigantic change on this patch. This is definitely a new game with the new patch. So I'm ready to beat Liquid this time.
I mean, coaches are typically pushed into the spotlight when it comes to meta shifts, and unfortunately for both Kane and Probably, they're the first two to hit the stage in trying to decipher this meta.
Yeah, and you hear him there saying he doesn't like being the first team on a new patch, but at this point, like, everything is so broken open, and everyone seems to have their own understanding of the meta. It doesn't feel like you're going to show something that other people haven't seen yet, or if they haven't seen it yet, it's because no one else is doing it.
And I think it is an opportunity to really show your superiority and your ability to analyze a non-standard game. This is no longer a form of mimicry, it's a form of creation by yourself. And another thing that it tests is teams' relationships with each other and levels of authority, because when there is no game to point to say, oh yeah, very clearly, Ezreal is a top 3 AD carry. You got one guy saying Brand's great, the other guy says you should play Jace. How do you come to an agreement, and how are you okay with the decision? So the healthier teams with the better structures are going to succeed more in this environment.
And I have a question for you. How do you analyze that? We'll get to that later today. Now, for both these teams last split, they heavily relied on their bot lane. Again, we spoke to Doublelift earlier on the stage, and of course, you got Cody Sun and Aframu on the flip side of the matchup. Well, how do you expect this to play out today?
Right, well, we know Team Liquid are the defending champions, but we also know they're not going to play the same team comps they were playing when they won the Spring Split Championship. I still think that this team needs to play through Doublelift in some way. He is their leader in and out of game. I think even if you're playing different champions, you can still bring bot lane as a carry matchup. Doublelift has been playing pro for 7 years before AD carry and support were the standard, and he's tweeted out in support of this change that could maybe refresh him. So I want to see how they approach this.
The flip side, 100 Thieves also played through their bot lane a lot, but it was Cody Sun more in mid to late game situations where Afro and Meteos would get a bunch of kills around him, he would get the gold from it, and then he would carry late game. You don't reach late game anymore in this meta, or so it seems. So they'll have to find a new way to integrate him into this. In their loss to Team Liquid in the finals, they did get a lot of kills in the early game. So maybe despite the fact that Cody Sun's their main carry threat, they do seem to have the ability to find kills in the early game and hopefully snowball.
Yeah, and anecdotally, even though we've seen 27 unique picks in the bottom lane carry role, most picks have been Lucian and Kai'Sa and Ezreal, and I think the majority actually of games are still with some of those non-crit scaling marksman bottom lanes. So you don't have to change if you don't want to.
Marksman can win. In fact, they still
absolutely.
do win.
Most of the time.
Now, Avali caught up with Team Liquid's coach to discuss how his team will approach their first game.
Thanks, guys. Just got finished speaking with Coach Kane about what he thinks we're going to be seeing in professional play. He said that because the meta is so difficult to predict right now, he has no idea. But he's feeling very confident with Team Liquid's preparation, especially since they just came back from MSI and now have that international experience. He said that the main focus for this split is going to be figuring out how to work with these new champions and new team compositions during all of these team fights. And as for their game against 100 Thieves, he had one message for Prawley. Sorry, but we're going to win. Back to you guys.
Well, with 5:40 left on the clock before champion select, I want to get some win conditions up on the board. I have a feeling this one will be tough for you guys. But starting with Team Liquid, Mark, what do you got for me?
Understand the meta real good. That's no,
do better.
Yeah, do better.
Do better.
But for them specifically, like, it's understanding the meta for yourself, because we're highlighting the fact that you can do different things based off what your team strengths are. And there are a lot of fighters in the top lane, but we know that, Impact's at his best when he's not on those. Singed is super meta. You have Orin super meta. Those are two of his best champions. Try and get him on a tank and then find something for Doublelift. If it is the Yasuo and the more aggressive stuff, because he's been practicing that a lot, I know we've seen it in his solo queue information, maybe that's what you go for. And if not, he plays a nasty Lucian. You can just stick with the marksman for him. Right. So understand what works best for their team, and I believe it will be tank top, aggressive bot lane, and hopefully some kind of more supportive mid.
Jat, what's the response?
Yeah, well, I still think if these teams are sticking to their scrim pockets with some discipline, they haven't scrimmed each other, so they shouldn't actually know which direction these teams have gone. Therefore, if I'm Prawley in this draft phase for 100 Thieves, I'm delaying my support and my bot lane carry pick as long as possible in order to try and get a counter pick in that lane. I don't care as much about if Impact can get ahead in top lane or if Pobal can get ahead in mid, because they have Team Liquid hasn't carried through those positions. You get a counter pick bot lane, whatever it is in either position, just so you can control that and get double out of the game, I think is the most important thing for 100 Thieves in this game.
When you look at both of these teams, does either team have a jungler that speaks to you as being able to pilot, let's say, the Yi in that kind of super Yi composition?
You know, Smithy has made his name recently a lot with things like Sejuani and Gragas and stuff like that, but he also has a really amazing Kindred, Graves, and Ezreal. Even at Worlds last year on Immortals, he was playing those. So I think he has the tendencies, if needed, to play the carry-centric style. It's just if Team Liquid want to opt the resources into him.
All right, well, this spring split is behind us, and so are the prediction records. And with a clean slate, let's pull up your predictions for the day. Now, TL got tested on the international stage, but now I'm going to test the two of you.
We are
against
different.
some opponents overseas. You see them flown up here. Our guests will reveal those to you in just a moment.
The guests are getting revealed. All right.
Either way, we have 4 different picks.
Everything but Echo Fox versus FlyQuest.
Yeah.
We'll get back to this graphic, but real quick, I want to throw it to a video as our guests are a few of the pro players from the LPL.
我比较看好 TL 战队吧，因为我在世界赛上看到大师兄的表现还是非常好的。
그리고 TSM이랑 CLG. 전 TSM. 왜냐면 TSM은 항상 그 북미에서 잘해왔기 때문에 TSM이 그래도 있지 않을까. 西九对西区战队的话，我还不是特别了解吧，所以但是西九的话知名度还是蛮高的嘛，所以我觉得西九可能会赢。
我觉得是 Focus 吧，因为其实这两个队我也不是特别的了解，然后我知道 Focus 有个 Huni 嘛，我觉得他也挺强的。
그리고 골든 가디언즈 대 옵틱 게이밍. 전 옵틱 게이밍. 왜냐면 제가 알기로 골든 가디언즈가 좀 저번에 좀 안 좋았다고 들어가지고 옵틱 게이밍이 이기지 않을까? 그렇게 될 것 같습니다.
Uzi, Bang, and Ming weighing in with their predictions
I'm impressed
overseas.
who they got for these
Yeah, this
predictions.
is some A-list talent.
Yeah.
Get them up here. Get Jad out.
Now, that said, I want to give you guys the opportunity to return to your discussion between the two of you on your predictions, because there were quite a few differences.
I mean, so it's a lot of speculation right now, not only just because, hey, start of a new split, but like, what are these teams all playing? So I think
I agree.
TL versus 100 Thieves would have been one probably pretty likely to split anyways. But I do think that based off how much Doublelift has tweeted he's been loving the meta and stuff like that,
True.
I expect that means their scrims have been going well.
Interesting one for me, Jad, is the fact that you predicted C9 even in the face of that roster swap.
So did our pro players from the LPL.
They didn't even know.
They're not here for me to question.
Yeah, actually, because I have enough trust in Jack and Reaper that they wouldn't make this choice if they didn't think it was going to give them some level of success. And apparently I was the #1 clutch hater last year, so I'm just going to continue that trend.
Yeah, that seemed to work out well for you.
It was great.
I mean, the only game in which you guys agree is that Echo Fox game sitting in the 4th position of the day. Why is it that the two of you index towards them more than anyone else?
I think it was the only position with a clear mismatch at how the seeding ended last split, as well as the fact that, you know, Echo Fox has Dardoch. If they're going for a crazy jungle style, they have Huni. Altek and Adrian can play something like Ezreal Morgana or Ezreal Braum and maybe be fine.
Yeah, and across the board, I actually did preseason power rankings. We did them on the dive.
You want to reveal those?
Do you have them?
No, I don't.
All of my picks actually correspond to those power rankings that I did.
Okay.
Most matchups were like 2 versus 3 or 9 versus 10, so it's a very volatile day.
All right, well, there you have it. Before we get to that game 4, we got to get through games 1 through 3. So to toss it out to the casters, let's get into the summer split.
Thank you very much, Dash. Welcome, everyone, to the start of the 2018 Summer Split. My name is David Freak Turley, and my meta-rocking pick coming in today is Isaac Azael Cummings-Bentley as a co-caster.
Well,
in your normal position.
First pick?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
100% first
I'm
pick.
happy.
There you go. Not even banned just yet. It's beautiful stuff right here. 8.11 is the patch of the day. If you were watching the NALCS countdown, we do expect a fair bit of non-typical bot lane picks, maybe a little bit of a dash of a Super Yi or Super Karthus in the mid or jungle position. It's going to be a lot of fun as we get ourselves into Champion Select to see the defending champions, Team Liquid. We'll start